liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in, so let's get right to it. We're going to talk about Burkina Faso, but more pointedly, Ibrahim Traore. All right, because this guy is phenomenal in terms of what he's doing for the country and for the Burkinabe people. Okay, when you talk about sovereignty, when you talk about independence, all you need to do is go and look at what Ibrahim Traore is doing for the Burkinabe people, what he's doing for Burkina Faso. They now control all of what goes on in Burkina Faso. There's no more foreign influence, foreign control, or dominance in their minds, in their government, or anywhere, you know. So again, he started out by gaining power in 2023, ousting the puppet, France's puppet, from power and instilling himself in that seat. And as a result, he has begun to bring changes to Burkina Faso not seen before. All right, let's make that clear. Now, what he has done, and this is upsetting to most Western countries, France, United States, as well as the European Union, is that he has basically kicked out everybody. If you're in Burkinabe, you have to go. If you have businesses here, we got to go now, audit all these businesses and find out what you guys have been doing behind our backs. He shut down French corporations, mining corporations. He's booted out the French military as well as its diplomats, the United States as well, the UK as well. He's rid Burkina Faso of all outside interference and influence. Burkina Faso is now known for doing its own thing, being very independent, and sovereignty is something that really matches the model of what's taking place in Burkina Faso. Infrastructure is being built, hospitals, schools, roads, no more mud roads. They're creating financial dependency. The people are working with the transitional government in terms of farming, agriculture. They're growing their own food now. They won't receive any food from NGOs as well as the United States and others. They've shut all that down. And again, this is phenomenal work, so much so that neighboring countries are following suit. They're taking a page from Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger's book. We have Chad now being a part of the AES. Ghana wants to be a part of the AES, and others are trying to get on board. And in fact, you don't have to even be in the Sahel, just be on the African continent and hear about what's happening in Burkina Faso. And those governments are taking notes and saying, hey, us too. So, kudos to all those African countries and leaders in government that are taking a page from Traore's book. Again, congratulations to them finally getting off their butts and doing something for the people. Now, that being said, Ibrahim Traore hasn't stopped there. Now he's crossed over into another area that, for all intents and purposes, was or is said to have been off limits for any government, and that is religion. Islam, to be exact. Now, just keep in mind that Ibrahim Traore is a practicing Muslim, all right? So what I'm going to share with you is, I'm telling you, explosive on the face of it, all right? Just what he's doing is enough that could have the French, the US, and the EU very pleased, because they will calculate as a result of what he's done, it'll be just a matter of time before he's ousted or, like Sankara, eliminated. All right. So anyway, what he actually did, what Traore actually said and did, is that he declared repeatedly, most recently in speeches in Ouahigouya and to the Agga region in July 26, that Sharia will never be state law in Burkina Faso. All right. Even though he's a practicing Muslim, he's made this decree, and it's upset quite a few people over there. But this came alongside a new religious freedoms law adopted unanimously by the Transitional Parliament in June of 2026 that enforces the secular state, requires religious groups to register under state recognized bodies, and criminalizes things like forced child begging and financial opacity in religious organizations. He also announced plans to recall hundreds of Burkina students studying Islamic jurisprudence in Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states, threatening to strip citizenship from those who refuse to return, arguing that they should be learning trades that would help build the country instead of Sharia law. That makes sense. That makes sense. They're trying to get from under the boot and the control of Europe. And the last thing you want is, more people going to learn religion, which would, in his mind, he could consider this part of the problem. Now, how do you resolve the problems that they're faced with? Not just Burkina Faso, but most African countries on the continent. You solve those problems with skills and trade. You teach the people how to fend for themselves, how to become independent rather than dependent upon foreign influence, foreign domination, and foreign corporations, things of that nature. So he's doing a great job in that respect. Now, that being said, there are many Muslims who favor Sharia law and are not pleased with his decree. All right. And that's in some quarters. That's not all over Burkina Faso, but it's enough. It's enough. Anyway, Traore's remarks have widened a rift between the government and parts of Burkina Faso's Muslim community. All right. Several influential Sunni scholars who once backed the military government are now at odds with authorities over the religious freedom law, the detention of prominent imams, and the campaign against religion extremism. All right. all of which makes sense to me, especially the campaign against religious extremism, because if we pay attention, what's taking place in Burkina, in the Sahel, especially in those areas that the AES is formed, that would be Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they are warring with other Muslims. Go figure. Go figure. It seems as though these jihadists, terrorists, or whatever they want to call themselves, or whatever anyone calls them, they seem to be hell-bent on establishing a caliphate. So this is part of that fight with Ibrahim Traore, Goita, and Tchani, over in Mali and Niger. They are in a legitimate fight to save the future of the people and to give the people options, choices, things that really matter in this life, a lot of which none of us actually have, but they're trying to establish that, and they're trying to do good by the Burkinabe people. So you have to salute him in that respect. In any regard, he's getting pushback from certain parts of the Muslim community. All right. Now, in late May, Imam Muhammad Ishaq Kendo, one of Burkina Faso's most prominent Sunni scholars, was arrested after criticizing the draft legislation. Okay. And after worshipers protested his arrest, authorities end up shutting down Ouagadougou's largest Sunni mosque, citing public order concerns. All right. So I recall we did a piece on that. In fact, here at TAP, this imam did not like that Ibrahim Traore was saying basically, hey, there's nothing wrong with doing your prayers, but when you do prayers in the middle of the street, you stop traffic. You stymie the flow of progress. You keep things from going, continuing. So if they're in the middle of the street praying and you have people conducting business throughout the city and they are blocking these fairways, these boulevards, these streets, hey, Yeah, something needs to be done. Because yeah, there's prayer, there's religion, but however, life must go on, right? We have to agree on that. And so this was one of the issues he confronted with that law he passed in terms of well, the praying in the streets was one thing, you know, and his thing was, hey, wait a minute, Burkina Faso has thousands of mosques. And when you know prayer time is coming, why would you wait to the last minute to stop everything in the middle of the street and pray when is a mosque probably on every corner? You know, why not go into the mosque and practice your faith? He made a great point in that respect. So, but as a result of, he got some blowback. And part of it was from this Imam Mohammed Kindu. All right. Now, that's one thing. Now, the other is the Timbuktu Institute has warned this breaks a tacit understanding that had blustered the junta's legitimacy since 2022, and that alienating these former allies risk undermining a key source of domestic political support without resolving the jihadist insurgency. All right, so now that's the Timbuktu Institute having something to say about this whole process. And again, if you look on the face of it, man, what he's doing, and I'm not Muslim, I don't profess or claim to be, but if we're talking about society as a whole, our society, our community as a whole, then yes, some things have to have certain, not necessarily restrictions, but boundaries. There has to be boundaries, you know, and without them, hey, people will run amok. Let's admit that much, all right? In any respect, man, internationally, Nigerian Islamic scholar Sheikh Ahmad Gumi publicly criticized Traore, calling him too young and inexperienced, arguing he's naive about the complexities of religion, society, and geopolitics, and warning his approach could hand extremist groups an opening to exploit public sentiment. Now, what that would me, I would take that as a threat, you know. And again, though, him saying this publicly the way he did, it is as if, you know, this guy could be on the take as well. He's in Nigeria. Nigeria has its own issues with jihadists as well, terrorists or whatever you want to call them. You know, those who want to establish a caliphate, you know, or want Sharia law, whatever the case may be. Nigeria has its issues, its own issues. And I'm willing to wager this individual who had something to say, Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, is probably knee deep in all that funk that's going on over there. All right. I'm just say that unapologetically. I'll say that. Now, to boot, I have another sheikh who has really publicly, well, he's threatened Ibrahim Traore himself. He's made a explicit threat, very explicit, in terms of him passing the ban on Sharia law ever being, you know, the form of government or that runs the country. This is something to behold. This statement by this guy is over the top. And again, you know, when you listen to some of these guys, you have to wonder, you begin to think, I'm sure, that these guys on the take. You know, a lot of these guys who want to overthrow these governments are doing things that upset, you know, the benefactors, you know, a lot of these insurgency groups, ISIS, what's the other one? The J and IM, and there's another one. All of them are benefactors or they benefit, excuse me, from the European governments in terms of logistics, in terms of money and arms. So the West, the EU, France, United States, they hand them these weapons to overthrow these righteous governments. So that says a lot about these individuals off the rip. You know, let's be straight. Let's be straight. And these are, you know, Muslims looking to take control of an African country. Since Muslims and Christians have been in Africa, there's been nothing but a lot of death, you know, degradation, slavery, things of that nature. There's really been no good as a result of, of religions being at the helm of the people or governing the people. None. And they become dictators just as much as Westerners are dictators of the colonies that they've colonized. Same attitude, same behavior, same outlook on the people. As long as they're fat cats living high on the hog and can seem as though they're calling the shots, that's all they matter. That's all that mattered to them, But I have a clip. I want to bring this clip in here before I do. As always, please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe. You are tapped in. This is the art of political discourse. This discourse I'm willing to have with anybody. Okay, let's do it. Let me bring this clip in here. Yeah. They come out of the woodwork, y'all. Okay, and here we go. This is Sheikh Bamaiya. All right, and here you go.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ibrahim Traore, you are our loved one. We love you so much. We pray for you, and we are very happy with the way you're governing your country. Now, Ibrahim Traore, you are not perfect. As a human, our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Kullukum khata'un, wa khayrul khata'in at-tawwabun." We all make mistakes, but the best of us are those when they made the mistake, they go back and withdraw and seek for forgiveness.
Okay, I need to understand, what would he describe as the mistake? Is it the fact that he banned Sharia law in Burkina Faso? And if so, how is that a mistake? See, what a lot of people don't understand is not everyone in Burkina Faso is Muslim. So you have a leader who is looking out for the interests of all the people and not some. So the mistake then is saying, oh, here, well, because, it's you're shutting down the spread of Islam. We find that offensive. We find that to be a mistake, because what? Our objective is to make this a caliphate, to make this a country in Africa that is strictly Islam. And you going against that, that's a mistake.
Ibrahim Traore, the fact that some of the citizens of your country travel outside to learn Islam or to learn Sharia doesn't mean they are coming back to impose Sharia in that country of Burkina.
Isn't that why they do it? They go and learn Sharia, and then they come back and they practice it in the communities they return to. And then that becomes their foundation. If I'm not right, if I'm incorrect, please, someone let me know. That goes with most religions. Let's be straight up front. When Christians go and learn, they go to, these schools to learn Christianity. That's their base. That's their that's their everything. They come back, they spread the gospel. They want to convert. Everything and everyone around them has to be, in their minds, Christian. That's no different with Muslims, going abroad to learn Sharia law. For what purpose? For what purpose? You learn it, then what? Aren't you supposed to utilize it, spread it, teach it, convert? I'm just trying to get an understanding here that makes sense. Where's the mistake?
Ibrahim Traore, do you know when people started going to Saudi Arabia to learn? I think they started going to Saudi Arabia before your grandfather was born. Not even your father. Before your grandfather was born. So if they were going to Saudi Arabia to learn, just to come and Islamize your Burkina Faso, it would have been done before you were born. And mind you, it's not only your country that people are leaving to Saudi Arabia to go and learn. Do you know how many people left Ghana who have been leaving Ghana to go to Saudi Arabia to learn?
Ghana has the same issues. The whole region over there, the Sahel, has the same issues. You know, jihadists, terrorists, whatever you want to call them. You know, ISIS coming in, JNIM. And what is their objective? What is their objective? For real, what is their objective? Is it to turn the whole of Africa Islam by any means necessary, including warfare? What is their objective? Look at what's happening in Africa. And look who's at power in these places where people are starving, being enslaved. Who's running everything? Who's in control? Who call themselves in control? Come on, you guys. Make it make sense.
You were saying your country, 800 people left your country to go and learn from Saudi Arabia. Do you know how many people left in Ghana right now as we speak? And do you know when they started living? And when they say someone is learning Sharia, the meaning of Sharia Islamically doesn't mean that they want to come in and Islamize your country or make it an Islamic country or impose Sharia on your people. No. In Islam, those who learn Sharia are the people, when we have problems Islamically, we go to them. And when it's about to sharing of inheritance, they are the people who specialize on that. It has nothing to do with imposing Sharia in a country. Do you know how many people learn Sharia in Nigeria? And
what is Sharia law? I don't know, man. I'm telling you, again, you know, it's like Christians, they go to learn the faith, you know, the gospel, and, you know, say all kind of things, none of which end up being true. You know, people let them in, and before you know it, either you're going to bend the knee, you lose your head, you get hung, or something, you end up in slavery. You know, I don't know. I'm just trying to understand this to a point where it makes sense. It makes sense. You know?
Currently, how many people are learning Sharia in Saudi Arabia? You are speaking, I think, from ignorance. I don't think you seek advice from the scholars in your country. Please, you take your time, sit down with scholars and understand what you are saying. Please, Ibrahim, don't chew more than you can swallow. Remember, you used to hold an umbrella for somebody when he was the leader, and you took power from him, and you will never remain on the power forever. It's either the power leaves you or you will leave the power. So please take your time. Don't let the power enter into your head and then you feel you have arrived. You've not arrived yet. Please don't fight Islam. Don't fight Islam. You will lose. Wallahi al-azim. You will lose miserably. Take your time, Ibrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
And that was very threatening, menacing. His whole countenance changed. You know, it was menacing, you know, because this brother say, hey, you know, I want balance here. You know, I don't want religion running the people or the government. And that's fighting Islam. Wait a minute. See, something don't jive here. If it wasn't a big deal, if Sharia law was not about going to learn it, coming back and taking over everything, wait a minute, what's the problem? You know, my mom used to tell us when we were growing up, we'd say one thing and she knew we were full of BS, right? and she'll call us on it. And the first thing, you know, come out, oh, no, I didn't. You know, she say a hit dog will holler. A hit dog will holler. Most of you out of community know what I mean by that. And that's this. That's this. Because in one voice or in one breath, he's saying, hey, look, that's not, you don't have to worry about SHARIALAW coming to take over anything. And then the next, hey, man, don't challenge Islam. Very menacingly. Don't go against Islam. That's a contradiction there. There's something afoot here. And so I think to his credit, he's doing the right thing. He understands. He's lived in Africa his whole life. He's seen what has happened as a result of religions running everything. You know, governments coming in the name of religion, running everything. How the people has suffered as a result of religion. He's pretty familiar with it, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. And most of us are. You know, he's watched or have heard about his people being enslaved by religion. Okay, so I don't know. But I did go and look up Sharia law, Islamic religious law derived from the Quran, the Hadith, recorded sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, and centuries of a scholarly interpretation. Okay, it covers a broad range of life, worship practices, personal conduct, family law, marriage, divorce, inheritance, business and finance, bans on interest-based lending, and criminal justice. Okay, now there are a few things worth noting also. It's not a monolithic. All right. Different schools of Islam jurisprudence interpreted it differently. Okay. So for one, they're not all on the same page. Imagine that. Okay. What Sharia means in practice varies a lot by country and scholar. And I say this respectfully, not to disparage anyone and or their belief, they're following their religion. It's like the Bible. You have so many different scholars, and all of them have a different interpretation of what it means and how you should go about utilizing it, practicing it. You know, ain't that something? You know, also application varies widely. Some countries incorporate it only into personal or family law, marriage, inheritance, while keeping secular criminal and commercial codes. A smaller number of countries apply it more broadly, including in criminal law, which is usually what people mean when they refer to Sharia law, being imposed as state law, okay, including the harsher hudud, I hope I said that right, hudud punishments that get the most attention in Western media. I would imagine that would be the stoning of the individual, you know, or maybe getting the head lopped off. I don't know, but this is very significant. Application varies widely. Some countries incorporate it only into personal family law, marriage, and inheritance, while keeping secular criminal and commercial codes. So they differentiate it. There's that Sharia law, and then there's, you know, the governance of law, you know, not intertwined. You know, a smaller number of countries apply it more broadly, including in criminal law, which is usually what people mean when they refer to Sharia law, being imposed as state law, including the harsher hudud punishments that get the most attention in Western media. This is exactly what's at issue in Burkina Faso. People, do not be fooled. All right. And so, yeah, there is, or very well may be, an attempt to usurp or take that country from Ibrahim Traore, just so that, or in order for it to be placed under Sharia law. All right. That's exactly what's at issue in Burkina Faso. All right. So Traore, he isn't rejecting Islam, people. He isn't. He's a practicing Muslim. Yeah. And again, a couple of things this guy said I agree with. No one's perfect. We all make mistakes. But let us be the one to learn what the mistake is based upon, our character, our beliefs, individually, personally, not based upon, you know, scriptures and stuff, because again, everyone is not one and the same. They just identified this where they have two separate enactments of Sharia law. They have some people who are kind of conservative with it, and there are some who are kind of liberal with it. It's just like Christianity, Judaism, Judaism, you got your conservatives, you got your liberals. Ain't that something? All of them are like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly what's happening. So Traore, he isn't rejecting Islam or personal religious practice. He's rejecting Sharia law. Sharia as the law of the state, insisting the Constitution take precedence over religious codes for governance, criminal law, etc. All right? That's the distinction his critics and supporters, all right, are arguing over. That's the issue. And now that, makes sense to me. Now, when we see individuals coming out of the woodwork and they're immediately criticizing and attacking Ibrahim Traore, I'm going to tell you what's funny about that. They're attacking him because, one, he's not, in their minds, following the script. Following what they've been taught, what's been passed down to them from their oppressors, actually, But that's not really the trip. The trip is the fact, where are they in praising him in terms of what he's accomplished in 3 years in Burkina Faso? Where are they in that respect? The BURKINABE people are now dignified. They take part in the development, especially when it comes to the infrastructure of the country. They take pride in that stuff. Factories popping up everywhere. They're producing their own, growing their own food, raising their own meat, paving desert dirt into roads, man. Where's that? Where's that congratulations? Where's that congratulatory, acknowledgement that, hey, you've done something in Burkina Faso, hey, that hasn't been done in decades. The French were there for 60 years. They don't even have roads. They didn't have factories. French companies were going in, raping the country of its resources, while the people starved and had nothing. At any time a leader came, what the European did, the French did, was pitted one against the other, have them fighting over something neither one of them, if they thought they had won or would win, would be able to control anyway. Like they don't even understand the game. Now and again, Traore went and got rid of the enemy, kicked them out, kicked out their corporations, their businesses, their government, and their military, kicked them out. And this is the things he gets. I tell you, something's wrong. Anytime we see people do these types of things to the people, you have to understand that there's something about them that has been compromised. See, because as human beings, you know, internally, we see what's going on externally. You know, it should jive with us. It should be that connection, that vibration, that frequency. Say, this is a good thing. The ancestors have deemed it so. You know, that guy's not over there shooting down people, has his military running all over the place, locking up everybody. And, you know, they are producing results. Where are these individuals in that light? Where are they? You know, these are the questions that need to be asked. And these are the issues that a lot of us are neglecting to actually look at. Totally. Just look at it for what it is. You have groups of people who want to run everything just based on religion. You know, they're not worried about the welfare of the people. At least I don't think so. You know, that's just my opinion. But hey, here that is. Ibrahim have done things that the West said he could not do. And he's done them fighting against his own brothers, Muslims. All of which, were they in his shoes, would not have accomplished any of what he's doing right now. That's not how they're built. You can tell they're not built like that, you know? So it's no wonder that this stuff is going on in Africa the way it is, where we have religious, we have jihadists gallivanting all over the countryside, all over the continent, dang near, trying to coerce, force people to see things the way they see them, live how they want them to live. You know, that is so reminiscent of what a lot of us go through here in the United States. Same thing, just different skin. What's at play? Religion. It's one of the things that play here in the United States. What's at play? Money. One of the things that's at play here in the United States. Power, money, religion. All used for the benefit of individuals, not the people. You know, you go to any of these so-called, you know, countries, Islamic countries, there's always an issue. You know, there's always an issue. And that's sad. That's sad. You go up in the North Africa, they're enslaving our brothers and sisters. Muslims. You go into the interior of Africa, they're fighting each other. All the while, the European is raping the country for its resources while they fight. They continue to give them guns and money so that war can continue, keep them distracted. Divide and conquer, you guys. Alive and well in 2026. Ibrahim Traore, tell us what you think about this. He is under fire because he passed a law that banned Sharia law in Burkina Faso. He understands, I think, enough to know that if I was to do this, the cards would, you know, the house would come tumbling down anyway, you know, because then it would be, I think, a scramble for power. I think so. And by keeping that separate, by keeping the law secular, you know, well, hey, we're not going to mix this thing up. We're going to have governance the way it's governed. We're not going to allow religion to dictate what the laws are. Because if you think about it, man, when it comes to religious laws, all of them, actually, they're biased. You know, they're biased. I can't say whether or not they actually serve the whole, you know, everyone. Just some. Let us know what you think about this piece, and hopefully you got enough context. Put down in the comments what your thoughts are. Will Ibrahim Traore survive this fight? He has 3 fights. He has 3 fronts he's fighting. French, EU, and the United States, the jihadists, and now just Muslims in general who would rather have Sharia law other than, you know, just the law that governs all people the same and fairly. 3 fronts he's fighting on. Let us know if you think he'll survive any of them. All right. Take care of yourselves and each other. Until next time, we'll see you here in TAP.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.